Welcome to episode 2 of the Getting Well Again podcast. Today I'm sharing the 5 key lessons that I took away from my gut healing journey. These are the ones that truly transformed my health and my ability to get well again, and they are now what shape my work with clients, and I cannot wait to dive into them with you. Hey there, I'm Jessica Washington, a former gut health patient turned functional nutrition practitioner, and I am on a mission to help you finally say goodbye to stubborn stomach symptoms and reclaim your life with confidence. On the Getting Well Again podcast, we dive deep into the root causes of gut issues, sharing real strategies that actually work to help you feel like yourself again. Healing your stomach is about so much more than just protocols. So get comfortable, take a deep breath, and let's dive into this journey to lasting gut health together. Well, hello again. I'm glad you're back for round 2. So this episode came about because I had just written down my entire gut healing journey for episode 1, which if you haven't listened to that one yet, please do. It's a great place to start. And everything I talk about today will be referencing a point in that story. So definitely start there. But while I was writing that story out, my husband and I had randomly decided to go through some old boxes we had left over from moving like 2.5 years ago. And in one of those boxes, I found my giant folder of notes. It's right here. If you're watching, it's massive. It has every note from every practitioner I had seen over those 5+ years, just trying to figure out how to heal my gut, everything in this folder. I was so pumped that I found it. And so I took a gigantic dive down memory lane and just went over every single note I took, every food journal I wrote out, every single stinking SIBO test result I got. And I was looking through everything and was like, man, I wish I did that differently, or like, wow, I really see how important that was in the overall arc of my healing. And so from that, I got to thinking, and I was able to formulate 5 really big takeaways from my healing journey. And as I was writing down these takeaways, I realized that these huge shifts and changes and things that I did and maybe mistakes I made, they really enabled me to be successful in my own healing, and they're now really big pillars in how I work with clients. And so it was a pretty cool full circle moment for me now that I'm a practitioner, going back through all of my old notes and really wishing that I had known what I know now, because my healing journey would have been so much shorter and so much easier, but then likely I wouldn't be here now. I wouldn't have gone through all that struggle and had to learn all of those things myself. And now I just get to help you make your stomach healing journey hopefully way shorter than mine was. So that's the backstory to this episode. But if you're ready, let's get into the 5 big things that I learned from my gut healing journey, and hopefully that will help you on your gut healing journey. All right, so the first big thing I learned was that persistence is the name of the game. And so if you're here, you're likely dealing with symptoms and a condition that are beyond the help, at least the full help of conventional medicine, which unfortunately means that a lot of the healing work and figuring out are left up to you, the person who is also not feeling well. And man, that was me, and I completely resonate with that. I don't know how many doctor's offices I left just so mad and frustrated that they literally had nothing for me. Just here, follow this diet, take this medication. Okay, well, you're feeling a little bit better, then come back in a few months and we'll see then. And right, it's not completely the doctor's fault. The conventional medicine system is just not set up to help with subclinical issues that aren't killing you. So if you're not dying or haven't developed a chronic disease state, conventional medicine is really just not set up to do much for us. But that means you now either have to just live with your symptoms, or you have to take your health into your own hands and do the work yourself. You have to do the research, find the practitioners, and all the things. And man, that is just such a big burden to bear, but it is also so worth the effort. No one knows your body better than you, and no one is more well equipped to heal and take your healing into your own hands than you are. And so I really just want to encourage you and challenge you that maybe this is how it should be. We should be our own health advocates. We should be questioning and constantly searching and digging deeper and not taking, oh, your labs look fine, as the final say in our health. Because what I learned looking back on all the notes I took in my 5+ year healing journey was that I kept going and kept searching because I knew that I could still feel better. I remember I would reach plateaus where I made some improvements, but I remember thinking, like, no, I know that I can feel better than this. And this is definitely an improvement, but I know that this isn't all there is for me. And so I encourage you, keep pushing, keep searching, keep finding new practitioners and more answers. And I promise you that it is so worth it. Your health and your future are worth not just settling for okay. And man, if you can adopt that mindset, there are just so many other things, even beyond your healing, that you can apply this to, which I really believe is one of the gifts that comes with the struggle and the hardship of having these chronic health issues, is that it creates something inside of you that wouldn't have ever been possible without it. Like, I am a way better person today because I had to grow and adapt through my healing journey to enable me to be able to heal. And so I know it doesn't seem like it right now when you're in the middle of it, you're just frustrated and tired and you just want to feel better, but it will all be worth it someday. From someone who's on the other side, I can tell you that because I've been where you are right now, and now I see it in my rearview mirror, and it will all be worth it. Just keep pushing and don't give up until you know that this is the best that you can feel. And okay, the second thing that I learned from my gut healing journey is that you shouldn't shy away from utilizing different practitioners during your healing. So I saw so many practitioners over the 5+ years I was working on my health, and each one of them brought something different to my healing journey and helped me get one step closer to full health. So my first practitioner, she diagnosed me with SIBO using the wrong test method, but we don't have to talk about that again. And she also made me really afraid of food and so many other things. So looking back, she wasn't the best, but I'm thankful for her because she got me started into the world of functional nutrition, and she helped me find a real root cause for what I was experiencing, which I had not been able to find going to conventional doctors and doing what I had been doing before seeing her. And then I worked with another practitioner who was a registered dietitian, and she helped me undo a lot of those food fears, taught me the importance of eating protein, eating balanced meals, and that alone was a game changer in my ability to just feel like a normal human during the day. But she also caused me to spend thousands of dollars on likely unnecessary treatment that didn't really get me anywhere. Then I worked with a functional doctor, and she was really great because she gave me access to antibiotic treatment, protocols, and prescription digestive enzymes, and ultimately made it possible for me to take 3 months off work so I could focus on healing. So that was another step forward. And then the last practitioner I worked with really dove deep into lab testing, recommended I take out my copper IUD, which needs to be its own podcast episode for all the ways that having that device inhibited my ability to heal. But we will talk about that later. And she did so many other things for me. She was great, and another stepping stone on my journey to healing. And so there wasn't just one practitioner that did everything for me. And each practitioner I saw was another step forward on my healing journey. And I hear so many times from people in my DMs saying, oh, well, I just signed up to work with this other practitioner and they're not really helping me. And I try to be understanding because I get that. I do remember vividly the financial struggle and all the things my husband and I had to say no to so that I could work with these people and buy all these supplements. And it is so hard, and it's such a sacrifice and such a struggle, but a little tough love. It's also like, well, then why are you still working with that person just because you spent a bunch of money? Yes, I get that, but what good is that money doing if you aren't getting anywhere with your health? And so this is one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about, in my own practice, creating lower priced services for people, because man, I so remember that struggle, right? Like, healing is expensive and not everyone is able to invest in a 4-month-long coaching package that costs upward of $3,000, because I understand that I am likely not the end all be all for all of my clients, right? I try to do my best for each and every one of them with my knowledge and the skill set that I have, but I don't know everything. And my clients that are the most successful are the ones that have worked with multiple practitioners, because your body does not work in a silo. And that's one of the things that is hurting us when it comes to conventional medicine, right? Like hormones and your gut and your brain, they all work together. And if we don't address them as such, you're going to be leaving a lot of room for healing on the table. And right, so I'm an expert in H. pylori and stomach healing and all of those things, but a lot of my clients also have issues with hormones and with other things going on. And so if I'm the only person that they're entrusting with their health, they're leaving a lot of room for healing on the table. And of course, I try to dive into those other areas of your body, and I do have a varied skill set, but I'm not an expert in everything. And so this is why it's important to not only find a practitioner who understands this concept of that your body does not work in a vacuum, and who believes that their way is not the only way. And then you also need to be open to just building a practitioner team on your healing journey. And then the third thing I learned from my gut healing journey is that eating more food is always a good idea. Always. I look back at all my notes and my food journals, and man, I just wish one of my early practitioners would have told me how to eat, and that eating more would make a world of difference in my ability to feel good. But instead, right, my first practitioner put me on a really strict low FODMAP SCD diet, and in some instances that is 100% necessary, but for me, it was not the right thing. It basically made me afraid of food, and I was so scared that food was what was causing my symptoms that if I deviated even just a little bit from this super strict diet where I was supposed to be making my own mayonnaise and my own bone broth and doing all of these things, that my gut infections would get worse and I would never get better. And if that's what someone has told you or what you know to be true right now, I am here to tell you that there is nothing further from the truth. Food is not the cause of your symptoms. Yes, food can make your symptoms worse. Eating certain things can make you feel sick. It can give you brain fog. It can make you gassy and bloated. But in most situations, food is not the root cause of those symptoms. There's something else going on beneath those food reactions under the surface there that is causing you to feel that way when you eat certain things. And so if you're avoiding food out of the fear that eating those foods that make you feel worse is going to make your gut infections worse, that is not true at all. It's just the symptoms are separate from the gut infections. It's like, yes, the gut infections are causing the symptoms, but eating the food is not going to make your SIBO worse or make your H. pylori infection worse. It's just a symptom of that infection itself. And so for me, yes, beyond being scared of food, I did have a lot of food reactions that made me feel not so great after eating. I could identify that most FODMAP containing foods caused me symptoms, things like garlic, onions, apples. But then to slap a label on my food intolerances and add a whole nother healing diet, the SCD diet, that is full of restrictions on things like bread and pasta, when those foods didn't cause me symptoms, was a gigantic disservice to my ability to heal. Your body needs food. My body needed food. It needs calories. And at that point, I was eating so low calorie, so low carb that it just pushed my body further into a stress state. I started not sleeping through the night. I couldn't exercise, and my health was it was not getting better, even with on all of these healing, nourishing diets that were supposed to be bringing me closer to health. It was taking me further away because it just wasn't what I needed at the time. Which is why I am the biggest advocate for not putting diet labels on people and for empowering my clients to eat the broadest diet possible that they can. Eat the carbs, eat the pasta, eat the bread. Likely those foods are not going to be causing reactions for people, yet they are so often demonized as unhealthy that all these people trying to be healthy, trying to heal their gut, feel like they need to avoid that, but it's really doing them a disservice. Anyways, the big takeaway here is that in order to heal, your body needs to feel safe. And the best way to do that is to eat enough food for your unique needs. And there's a lot of nuance behind what that is. It all depends on your body stats, your height, your weight, how much you exercise, your age, so many things. But what I really want you to get from this is that food is not the enemy here. Yes, food can make you feel bad, but it's not the cause in most circumstances. So eat what you can, eat what makes you feel good, and avoid the rest. And this is just some work that you're going to have to do. Maybe start a food journal, keep track of your symptoms, find the foods that bother you, but then branch out to foods that don't. Like try some pastas, try some breads, try some things that add a lot of calories and bulk to your meals that don't flare your symptoms. And if you find yourself stuck in a diet or in a bunch of diets that have you restricting food after food, this is your super friendly nudge to look deeper into that and see if those diets are truly serving you and bringing you closer to healing, or if they are possibly keeping you stuck. I know for me, the restriction was definitely keeping me stuck, and loading up on bread and crackers and chips and all the other things that didn't cause me symptoms would have been the absolute best thing that I could have done for myself. All right, on to the fourth big thing that I learned from my gut healing journey, and that is that lab testing is king. Without it, you are just stabbing blindly at symptoms and will likely waste a lot of time and a lot of money in the process. But also, don't just run all the labs just to run all the labs. Make sure you and your practitioner have a game plan for what to do with the data you are getting from that lab test. So, at the start of my health journey, I was diagnosed with SIBO from a stool test, which I know now, and that I eventually learned back then is incorrect. So on a stool test, there is no possible way to tell where the overgrown bacteria that are showing up on your test results are located inside your intestines. You can't tell if they came from your small intestine or your large intestine. So it's impossible to get a SIBO diagnosis from a stool test. Just putting that out there. Now, in my case, that practitioner was correct, just by chance, or maybe she knew some other way. I don't know. I did have SIBO, but it would have made my life so much easier to have that baseline SIBO breath test before I did the countless rounds of treatment protocols that had little to no positive impact on my symptoms. And so this is why I am a huge advocate for doing the correct testing and then fully addressing those results and those results only. No guessing like, oh, I feel like maybe I have candida, so let me just take these antifungal supplements, or a really popular one out there, which I might get some backlash for, but let's just do all the parasite cleanses and hope that my symptoms will improve. There's no scientific process to that, and you're likely wasting a lot of money and potentially messing with your microbiome more than you need to be. So follow the data, be scientific in your approach to healing, and you will feel much less overwhelmed when you have a plan and data to back that plan up. And then you can potentially retest using that same test method and see how things are improving and adjust your approach from there. I took so many SIBO breath tests and they all looked so different, and the results were just so hard to pinpoint. It was just a hot mess, and I wish so badly that I had that baseline test result before I started messing with all the treatment protocols and all the crazy diets. Just what did my results look like at the beginning when I was having all of those symptoms before I had started doing anything? That would have just been so helpful for me and for my mindset and my treatment plan moving forward, right? I could have measured my progress better, or in my case, the lack of progress. And maybe I wouldn't have spent all of those years and all of those thousands of dollars on SIBO treatment after SIBO treatment. I maybe would have tried a different approach. But anyways, I'm just saying, do the lab work, address what's on the lab work, and go from there. And lastly, my fifth and arguably most important thing that I learned from my gut healing journey is that adopting the mindset of a health detective is the best way to continue to make progress in your healing, even in the face of symptom flares and plateaus, because symptoms are going to happen. They happen to everyone. And what I've learned from my own healing and how I was able to approach it is that to heal and fully recover from those gut infections, you have to treat your symptoms as clues that can lead you to find the missing pieces in your healing puzzle. Symptoms are your body's only way of communicating what's going on the inside. There's no other way for your body to let you know that something is out of balance or not working correctly. It's kind of like when a baby cries. All we know that there's something wrong, and it's up to the parent to learn what their baby's unique cries mean so that the parent can then act accordingly. And it's the same thing with your symptoms. The closer you pay attention to them, instead of just trying to cover them up, the faster you will be able to learn what your body is trying to tell you through them. Like I remember with my first child, when he was a baby, we would use the pacifier all the time. Anytime he cried, just give him the pacifier, it'll calm him down, it'll make him feel better. But eventually I learned that that pacifier was really just covering up the symptom of what was actually wrong. So I wasn't actually helping him with what he needed. Like maybe he was cold and I was just like, oh, give him a pacifier. Maybe he just needed to be held and I was like, oh, just give him a pacifier. Maybe he was hungry or tired or whatever. I didn't know because I didn't take the time to listen and learn his cries. I just tried to cover up his cries as symptoms using a pacifier, or for maybe in your instance, it's using a supplement to cover up a symptom, or whatever you're doing, a diet to cover up symptoms. But instead, we need to take a step back, actually listen to our body or our baby's cries, and try to take the time to learn and figure out what they are telling you. And there were so many times on my healing journey when I just tried to power through, just kept pushing that pacifier in my mouth, just to keep pushing on to my desired plan of action without ever taking into account what my body actually needed and was actually asking for. And then before I knew it, I was taking like 25 supplements a day, had no idea what symptoms were from all the supplements or what symptoms were actually from having gut infections and things. And so sometimes the best thing you can do is take your little Googling hat off and put your detective hat on. Take some quiet time by yourself, just sit down and just listen to your body. Hear what its cries mean and what your symptoms are trying to tell you, and then move into action the best way you know how, right? Again, as a new parent, you don't immediately know why your baby's crying. I had no idea. This was my first child. He's crying. What do I do? But you'd learn to just start trying things. Do they need a nap? Are they hungry? Do they need a new diaper? Maybe they're cold or hot, or just their shirt is itchy. There's so many possibilities, but you just have to start somewhere and try and be a detective and figure it out. And the more that you keep listening and keep taking action, the better you will get at reading your baby and understanding this new person and what their cries mean. And it's the exact same thing with your healing body. Your body wants to be healthy. And the more that you keep leaning in and listening, the better you will get at responding and acting accordingly. Like now, I am pretty darn confident at listening to my body and reading its cues. Like, for example, if I wake up at night for a few nights in a row, I'm like, okay, let me put my detective hat on and try to figure out why this is happening. And so I just run through a list of the things that I know have caused my body to do that in the past. Like, I probably need to eat more during the day. I probably need to wear my blue blocking glasses at night, and I probably need to go to bed earlier. And then bam, eventually, most of the time, those trials work and I'm sleeping better again. But it wasn't always like that, and it takes practice and dedication and commitment to move past that overwhelm and keep leaning in, trusting your body, responding to it in the best way that you know how. And so that is it. Those are the 5 big lessons that I learned in my own gut healing journey. And I know it was a lot and I went through all the things, but I hope you got a whole lot out of this episode and it was encouraging, and you can take some of those realizations that came out of my own healing and use it in your own life. And it was so cool for me to go back and think about this, because I've realized that a lot of those realizations underpins so much of what I do in my own private coaching practice. And I think that is because I have seen firsthand the effects of not fully grasping these things in my own healing journey, in my own notes, in my own life, and how powerful it can be to your healing once you actually do. So please take these to heart and keep moving forward on your journey to getting well again. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Getting Well Again podcast. If you found today's conversation helpful, please subscribe and leave a review on Apple Podcasts. Your feedback really helps others who need this information find the show and start their own healing journey. And if you know someone who'd benefit, please feel free to share this episode with them too. See you next time.